Hey people, I just need to tell you that I love being sponsored by record companies, and today we're sponsored by Matador Records, the independent label bringing you new albums this fall from the New Pornographers, Interpol, Perfume Genius, The Young, Thurston Moore, and vinyl reissues of the entire Bell and Sebastian catalog. Use offer code Maron for 20% off any order from store.matadorrecords.com. That's Maron as the offer code at store.matadorrecords.com. And also, I'm sure many of you are listening to this on your phone or tablet or some mobile device, so take a second and make room for the Comedy Central app. I'm happy to be one of the first people to tell you that the Comedy Central app is now available for free on both Apple and Android devices. It's been out for iOS for a while, but now it's free in the Google Play Store for Android. The app is full of episodes from great Comedy Central shows, including my appearances on At Midnight and The Meltdown with Jonah and Kumail, plus content from South Park, Key and Peele, The Daily Show, and tons of stand-up. Do yourself a favor and get it now for free from the App Store or Google Play. All right, let's do the show.
Lock the gate!
All right, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers, what the fuck buddies, what the fucking ears, what the fuck sticks, what the fuck nuggets? Yeah, got it in. Let's close with what the fuck nuggets today. How would that be? Hi, I'm Marc Maron. This is WTF. Thank you for joining me. Always a pleasure to have you here. Always happy to be in your head through your ear holes. Anna Kendrick is here today. The lovely Anna Kendrick is here. And I do get a little starstruck sometimes, folks. I do, and I did, but I tried to handle it. All right, you'll see. You'll see. A couple of things that I want to promote, if I could. I'll be at the New York Comedy Festival at the Skirball Center on the NYU campus, which is the entirety of Lower Manhattan. But I'll be there at the Skirball Center November 7th. We added a second show. The first one is sold out. So if you're in New York and you want to see me and you want to make the drive, I believe it's going to be a good show. I'm feeling strong about it because I haven't been to New York in a few years. A couple of years since I've done a major stand-up event there. And I'm going to be working on it. So if you can't be in New York and you want to see me work out some stuff, I'll be at the Tripany House at the Steve Allen Theater September 16th, 23rd, and 30th, and October 14th and 21st. Be doing that stuff. I'm also doing some oddball dates. Look, you can go get all this information at WTF Pod and look at the calendar section. But that's what's happening. I haven't talked to you since Joan Rivers passed away, and I didn't know Joan that well, but I think she was one of the greatest real comedians that ever lived. And I'm so glad that over the last few years she was so appreciated by so many people. I mean, she's been around a long time. She had an amazing career, Resurgence, and I was privileged enough to do her talk show in bed with Joan Rivers. I was in bed with Joan Rivers, and we had a great time. And she was a great lady and really a great stand-up comedian. And it's sad. And I feel like, she had a long life, and I know that there's some investigation going on about what happened at the hospital, but she did have a good long life, and she did do some amazing work, and she will be missed. And that's what I have to say about it. It's interesting because I do this show, and when people pass away, they want me to say something, and I don't know what to say. It was horrible with Robin, and but thank God I had that interview to share with you guys, and I was glad I had that. But I didn't really know Joan, and all I can say is that I thought she was an amazing comedian and a real force in nature, and it's just sad. I don't know that sometimes there's this media feeding frenzy. There's a fine line between a tribute and an exploitation of a sad event, and it all happened so quickly. And I just I do what I can here, and I share my feelings here. We lost a great comedian in Joan Rivers, and that's how I feel about it. And I'm glad she had a good long life, and I'm glad that people appreciated her, and she will be missed. Let me talk about this for a minute, because I don't want to forget to talk about this. This is important because it's well, you probably heard me talk about JustCoffee.coop before. They've been a sponsor of mine since before WTF was even a thing. And I'm very loyal to them because they were there when no one else was there. And right now they're trying to help some people out who really need it, and you can help too. Just Coffee works with a coffee cooperative in Nicaragua that has been absolutely devastated by drought and by a crop-killing fungus, and they're facing a long stretch of time with no food or income source, and this is a community. And Just Coffee is looking to raise a minimum of $24,000 to buy new seeds and to help replant the food crops for the workers and their families. Now here's what you can do to get the word out. Go take a picture of yourself and make sure the hashtag selfies for seeds is in the picture. Get it up on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. The photo will then show up at selfiesforseeds.com. That's selfies, the number 4, selfies4seeds.com. And when you're checking out the site, make a donation if you can. Then go ahead and get your friends to make their own photos and pass the message along. The most creative selfies will win prizes, the biggest being a year supply of coffee. A year supply of coffee. Right? Huh? Does that just sound like the voice of God? It should. A year supply of coffee ain't nothing. That's not nothing. And right now, if you order the WTF blend from JustCoffee.coop, all the proceeds that we get from that will go toward the fundraiser. I'm going to do a selfie later today, and I'll put it on Twitter. So keep checking out the hashtag selfies for seeds, and thank you for helping out. I appreciate it. They're good people at JustCoffee.coop, and as I said, they've been loyal to me. I've been loyal to them. Loyalty is not nothing in this world, people. So anyways, I want to thank the people of Nevada City for coming out to the show. I did 2 shows with Nick Thune up at the Nevada City Film Festival, and I'd never been to Nevada City. And as some of you know, I think I've kind of talked about this before. Anytime I go out of town to a place that seems reasonable and quiet and off the grid a little bit, I think, Jesus, why am I not living here? Why can't I be a farmer? It's sort of an interesting town. I was only there for a day, but apparently it was like, the center of the gold rush clusterfuck in Northern California. And there's pieces of equipment. There are these giant water cannons and rock crushers that are from the turn of the century or whenever that happened. God forbid I do a little research. But this was it. This is where all those lunatic prospectors just went to just destroy the mountains and find the nuggets. It was, I imagine it determined a lot of the foundation of our monetary standard at that time. In my mind, what happened there was that they just extracted all the gold they could and entered that into the economic ecosystem and was part of the great definer of the American monetary system. That's how I'm going to frame it in my head because it seems to work for the analogy I want to make. Now, apparently, the big money-making business up in that part of the woods is weed. A lot of weed growers growing the legal weed, growing the prescription medicine weed, but weed's big business up in the hills around Nevada City, to the point where from what I understand, it's almost picking season, and people come from around the world to be pickers. I think I get the feeling it's sort of like a stoner summer camp thing that, just a bunch of kids from all around the world can go pick weed. But it's sort of interesting to me that at one time they were mining gold out of those hills, and that becomes sort of the foundation of American capitalism. And now they're growing weed to ease us through the inevitable decline of what we've grown to know as the American economic system. Hey, things aren't working out. All the gold is gone, but how about some weed? We're sponsored today by A24, presenting Kevin Smith's Tusk. Kevin is back in thriller mode for this movie. I saw his last thriller, Red State, and Kevin can really deliver the goods in these kind of movies. This one is about a podcaster named Wallace who's about to find out all that separates man from animal are the stories he tells, and all Wallace wants is not to die in Canada. Tusk started as a love letter to Kevin Smith's fan base. He and his producer Scott came up with the premise while riffing on the Smodcast. Now this outrageous thriller has been invited to premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival and Fantastic Fest in Austin, Texas. Justin Long, Hallie Joel Osment, and Genesis Rodriguez star in a truly terrifying and twisted tale about a man who gets kidnapped and surgically transformed into a walrus. Could there be weed involved? Tusk opens everywhere Friday, September 19th. Use the hashtag WalrusYes to join the conversation. So Anna Kendrick will be here shortly, and I adore her. and you'll probably hear that. I don't hide that well, nor do I try to. But I'll tell you something. She's in this movie Happy Christmas, which is a Joe Swanberg movie. You can, it's in some theaters still, and it's also on demand and on iTunes. And I'll tell you, I saw it, and he went out of his way to shoot this film on 60 millimeter film, which I hadn't even seen in a long time. Do you remember the last time you saw an indie film shot on film? I mean, maybe I don't notice it, but I would think I would. But I was very impressed with the spirit of the movie. I was fortunate enough. I was up in, and I'll talk to Anna about this a bit, but I was up in San Francisco, and I went to a screening, and the screening before the one I went to, he was talking on Skype, and he was a lovely guy, and he had a lot of thoughts about why he does the films he does. I'd never seen a Joe Swanberg movie, and Happy Christmas was the first one I'd seen, and he does all improvised films, and since then, I watched his movie Drinking Buddies, and I think there's a real honesty to his work, and I think he's a great filmmaker. I've not really seen the work of a filmmaker that intimate and with that kind of feeling. And the fact that he did this film improvised, which means it was outlined and shot on film, I mean, it just raises the stakes a little bit. I mean, all these actors had to know, that they, with video, you can just shoot take after take after take, and the moments get lost, and a lot of times I think you're seeing something that might be over-rehearsed. Usually you're hopefully seeing the best moment, but who knows? And it really looked different. It was really refreshing to me to see something shot on film, and knowing that the stakes were heightened a little bit. And it's also kind of wild to me that, just how many expectations one brings to a film from being pummeled their entire life by mainstream films. There are moments in the film where I'm thinking like something menacing is going to happen, and it doesn't. It's just the emotional ebb and flow of these characters. And I'm always a little sort of fucked up when my brain works like that. Because even when I was just in Nevada City, I was put up in a small cabin, and because I see too many movies, there was no fucking way I was going to be able to sleep in a cabin by a creek in a lovely little town that used to be a prospector town. God knows what kind of murders and horrible things went on there. God knows who's wandering the hills. God knows if one of those dreadlocked lunatics that I gave stink eye to at Ike's, I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm not an old man like that, but you never know what's inside of people, and you never know when a ghost is just going to come and ruin your life. Got to be careful. Ghosts will do that. We're also sponsored today by our longtime friends at Stamps.com. They're our longtime friends because they've been supporting this show for years, but also because I've been using Stamps.com ever since. And why not? It takes a no-win situation like going to the post office or leasing an expensive postage meter and makes life easier. With Stamps.com, buy and print official U.S. postage for any letter or package right from your desk using your own computer and printer. Even get special postage discounts that you can find at the post office. Plus, Stamps.com is more powerful than a postage meter and costs a lot less, too. You can save up to 80% compared to a postage meter, and you'll avoid those time-consuming trips to the post office. Right now, use my promo code WTF for this special offer. Start a no-risk trial and get a $110 bonus offer that includes a digital scale and up to $55 free postage. Don't wait, people. Go to Stamps.com. Before you do anything else, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in WTF. That's Stamps.com. Enter WTF. So, all right. So, again, I was nervous. I don't know why I get nervous. People are just people. But Anna Kendrick is a special person. And I was thrilled that she came by the garage. So let's talk to her now. What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? What did you do for a workout?
I went to one of those classes for, it's like ballet based, but it's just pain. It's just like searing behind the eyes pain.
Ballet based.
Yeah, it like makes you question, like, do I want to be in shape?
Yeah, is this necessary?
Is it that important?
Yeah, I mean,
because right now my body is telling me to stop. My body is telling me that I'm going to murder this instructor and her whole family.
Yeah. I'm young. What do I need this for? I get that a lot. The I'm going to kill you, I hate you instructor thing. And it's always the best instructors. He's great. I'm like, I want him to die. I want that guy to die.
Yeah.
But it's ballet. Like, what? Do you go to is it a special thing? What is it?
I mean, I don't really know. The ballet thing might be like kind of a gimmick. It's just the usual stuff, like lift your leg until it hurts, until you want to kill me.
Yoga-ish.
Yeah.
And do you know ballet?
I mean, I danced when I was a little kid, but I was never good.
No?
And yeah, I mean, it was like, I grew up in Maine, and so we didn't have like a huge dance scene. I don't mean to like put down
modern dance in Maine. There's not a
no. I mean, actually, there I shouldn't say. There are people in Maine who are excellent dancers, and there are people who take it really seriously, and I was just not very good.
Right. There's people that take dance seriously everywhere. I went and saw like a serious dancing. When was the last time you went to a modern dancing?
I went to see something at BAM that was
in Brooklyn.
Yeah, that was really good.
It's wild, isn't it? I get emotional about it.
Oh no, dance is like everything to me. If I could do anything, like if you could like magically. You know that? Has anybody ever asked you like if you could be the best in the world at something, but no one could ever know about it?
A secret best in the world thing?
For sure, mine would be dancing because it's so like emotional and beautiful and expressive, and like to be able to express yourself. I mean, that's all we ever do. Is like I just want to be able to express what's going on inside of me, and dancers can do that. And
pure.
Their body's their instrument. Exactly. It's so pure.
Pure.
It's so pure.
Because we expressing myself through comedy. That's just an exercise in hostility and repressed anger and hiding things. It's like a trick.
Yeah.
And acting, you kind of can inhabit someone else, but dancing.
But it's still through someone else, and
exactly.
It's sort of within like all the machinations of filmmaking and what that means. And
but dancing is just sort of like, we're here.
Yeah, I'm
we're
just doing it.
I cry every time I see it. I cry at musicals, though.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy crying in any darkened theater, really.
for any reason.
Yeah.
It might not have anything to do with the movie.
No.
But there's something about dance and about people singing that just kills me. And it shouldn't. I mean, like even if it's a happy song, if there's many people singing it, and they're moving around on a stage, and it's happy, I'm like, oh, God, how are they so open? I don't know. How do they just do that? I think secretly I just want to dance and sing. Why can't I?
I don't know. Can you sing? Do you sing?
I can sing okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do it sometimes.
All right.
But it's very frightening. It's horrifying to me.
Oh, you mean like publicly?
Yeah. I've done it. I feel okay about it. And I feel like once I got through that initial fear, I feel pretty good about it because I can sing okay, but horrifying, terrifying. Why is that? I go up there and I don't know why I'm asking you, but maybe you can give me some insight.
Well, I'm not I don't.
You can sing.
But I don't like sing publicly, and I certainly don't. I have sung publicly a couple of times in the last couple of years, but sort of like I sang at the Kennedy Center for the Shirley MacLaine was getting her Kennedy Center honors, and I sang in that. Totally big gig. Totally. It was amazing.
Were you going nuts?
I wanted to throw up. I was so scared. And I was with like Broadway veterans in my like group, honoring Shirley MacLaine. And we were all like shit scared. We were backstage like, cause we learned it all in like 24 hours.
What was the song?
My song was It's Not Where You Start, It's Where You Finish.
And this was a song she had sung?
Yes. So that wasn't exactly like me expressing something inside of myself and saying like, I want you to see who I am and like, does the audience accept me? Like that was not going on, you know? So that was mostly just like, hey, like, I hope your voice sounds good.
Yeah,
like,
get through it. We're gonna get through this.
Don't try anything fancy that you haven't done in rehearsal. Don't get that like hyped up audience thing where you try something and regret it later.
I'm gonna riff.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna scat for a while.
I'm just gonna go up on that note this time. I think it's a separate thing. Yeah. Like your fear of
it's a vulnerability.
Yes, exactly.
Like I think like anything else, if you get comfortable singing, it's not as vulnerable. It's not as risky. Like there's something very embarrassing about singing badly. Or singing out of key, it's hard to come back from.
Yeah, that's sort of how I feel about anything athletic, though. I think they're not a dissimilar feeling.
I could see that,
like where it's not exactly like expressive per se, but I just feel like, I'm just like I just don't deserve to be on this earth.
I can't throw. I should die.
I'm terrible.
I'm a bad person. But you did get scared. Who were the veterans you were with?
Sutton Foster, Patina Miller, Karen Olivo.
These are all Broadway people.
Yes.
It's so weird how much I don't know. That was always a thing for you? You have a tremendous amount of respect for Broadway?
Yeah.
In general?
I think later in the evening I had some tipsy, drunken, tearful thing with Sutton where I was like, you inspire me so much. I'm just foolish.
But is that how you started becoming interested in acting? I mean, was stage
Yeah,
acting?
when I was very young. Yeah, absolutely.
You took to stage stuff?
Yes.
Like in Portland, Maine?
Yeah.
I know Maine.
Oh, yeah?
I do. I started my comedy career in Boston, and I used to do one-nighters all over Maine.
Really?
I once drove from Boston to Machias, Maine. Do you even know where that is?
I do.
That's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
To do a college gig opening for a hypnotist. That is the furthest point east in the United States, driving up that coastline to where things get weird and the gene pool gets tighter, and it's like trippy, man. It's a beautiful state, but well-traveled. I have done it. I know Portland.
Yeah, you've been everywhere, huh?
Not everywhere, but I did a lot of weird gigs out there. But I have been a lot of places. But Maine, like Portland, that's a real city. It's nice.
Yeah, no, Portland was amazing. I mean, I realized the more of the country that I see, the more I realize that I'm really lucky that I grew up in Portland, because I just assumed that a greater population automatically translated to more of an art scene and more, kind of...
sometimes the opposite.
Yeah. Because Portland's like 65,000 people.
Right.
Or it was when I lived there anyway.
Really?
I'm sure it's more now.
Wow.
But I've been to places... I won't name names or anything, but I've been to places that I've been really depressed being there, and I'm like looking at... I thought this was like a big city.
Right. Well, the weird thing about art scenes is sometimes, even if it's in a bigger city, like certain types of creative communities just feel like they're marginalized. Mm-hmm. So it's not like this thriving art scene. It's a bunch of angry people in a weird theater going like, fuck, no one's coming to our show. How many siblings you got?
I got an older brother who actually works at BAM.
Oh, really? In Brooklyn? Mm-hmm. That's a cool place.
Yeah.
How'd you grow up? What were your folks doing?
My mom is an accountant, and my dad was a history teacher.
History teacher. At your school?
Well, he was a substitute teacher, and he would kind of get like long-term gigs when teachers would go on sabbatical and stuff.
Right.
So he was sort of all over the place. Like occasionally, I think maybe
teacher.
Twice he actually taught a class that I was in? Which was understandably weird. But that was like kind of short-term substitute teaching situations. But he was he taught French for a year at the all-girls school in our area, and like history.
Can you speak French?
I could in high school. I was pretty good, but it disappears if you don't work that muscle. It's just.
So you grew up with like fairly, well, I don't know accounting, but that's a little specific. But I always picture that if someone has a teacher as a parent, that they're at least open-minded, and history teacher and supportive.
No, they were. I mean, my parents were very, very supportive, and very artistic, and opened me up to a lot of stuff. My mom is more into the visual arts, which I could never
painting and stuff
get a handle on. Yeah, I mean, I can't even draw a stick figure. It's really.
But
awful.
Are you able to appreciate it?
Oh yeah, I mean, and she.
Does she draw?
Yeah, she draws and she paints, but my dad was more into theater and stuff, very into the Irish drama of the world.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, we saw a McDonough play, Beauty Queen of Lebanon, when I was 12, and we just it was actually kind of amazing because my mother watched me and my dad and my brother just laugh hysterically at Beauty Queen of Lebanon, and she was like, "You guys are fucking sick. You are disgusting."
Is he Irish?
Yeah.
He is? That's they're sort of heavy people.
Yeah.
And they
exactly
like Irish poetry and Irish theater. It's like, oh. But on the other side of that, they seem to know how to have a good time.
Yeah. No, very. I think very into dark humor and finding humor and. Gallows humor.
Yeah, it's been rough for them over there.
Yeah.
It's a very beautiful place, but it's been hard.
Yeah, exactly. I just noticed your what the fuck
ring.
Who fashioned that for you?
Some dude.
Oh.
A fan.
A fan?
Yeah.
You get jewelry from fans?
I get all kinds of shit from fans. You get stuff like that? Come on, you get stuff.
I get some stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I can't even imagine the stuff you get.
Okay. There's no way of telling this story that doesn't make me sound like a dick, but
do it.
Whatever.
You can be a dick.
Okay. Okay, so, and I promise you, like, on paper, this is the craziest thing I've gotten or thing that has happened. It was my birthday recently, and a couple of people managed to get my home address you know,
just do that.
because once it's on the internet, it's impossible to kind of get rid of it. So a couple people for my birthday, and it was they include in the message like, I'm sorry if this is an invasion of privacy. It's like, well, it is. It is. And if you would have just sent it through the appropriate channels, it would have been a lot sweeter and less creepy. But anyway.
So what happened?
A couple people sent things, and you know, like a teddy bear and you know, stuff like that. And I sort of just on principle, you sent it to my home and it's not appropriate, and I just kind of get rid of it, and I don't even want to give it to like a friend or you know, like to it because you never know if there's anthrax in the teddy bear. I don't know, and no, there's probably not, but it's just it just goes in the trash.
Yeah, sure.
You know, it's too weird to be like, oh well, you know,
I'll just give this to a child.
My friend has a baby, like I'm sure he'd love this teddy bear. No, you know, I don't want to be wasteful, but it goes in the trash.
Sure.
And I got one that was like a long letter about how he really felt like we should be together, and if I would just give him a chance, and he didn't want to do it over social media because he thought that would pressure me because it would be public. And
right,
I'm like,
right.
Sure, but sending something to my house.
He wants to do it right.
Yeah, exactly. Wants to be a gentleman.
Yeah.
And he sent me a pair of diamond earrings.
Get the fuck out of here. For real ones?
For real diamond earrings. Okay, but
you went and checked.
I did go and check.
Right.
I was just like, these have to go in the trash. Like I cannot I cannot wear them. I can't give them to someone. It's too weird. Like on principle, if the teddy bear goes in the trash, these go in the trash.
Yeah, so you had to throw away the diamond
So I had to throw, so if you send it to my house, it's going in the trash.
Go through the appropriate channels where it can go through the proper security vetting. And we can test the teddy bear for anthrax, and they'll make their way to Anna.
Also,
did that guy stop bothering you though?
Also, I don't like to look too much into it. If something becomes a problem, I have had like people, you know, I've hired someone to investigate someone, you know, because this one guy was getting really psycho. Yeah. But mostly I just don't think about it, and that's been fine so far. So until that changes,
you're one of those people because of.
But can you imagine if I kept the earrings and then I'd have to like marry this guy?
No, of course there would be no other way.
Yeah.
You'd have to.
That's how it works.
You'd have to go on, say Fallon or something, and go like, "Hey, I'm wearing the earrings.
So
I haven't heard from you yet. You know where I live. Come on, don't be a pussy now."
Oh God.
No, it's tricky because you're one of those type of actresses that has a vulnerability, and you seem kind of like accessible, and you're kind of quirky. So I'm sure there's just like, you know, a ton of guys that's just like, oh, she's like so perfect for me. Like just.
It's funny you say that because I have had a number of guys when I was with like a gentleman come up to me and say, just so you know, you're like on my list of like 5 people, you know, because my girlfriend and I have like the 5 people that we could sleep with, whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
If that came up?
Like if I was, you know, and I just kind of like, what a coincidence.
Glad to make the list.
But it's funny because at first it feels like kind of very flattering that I, you know, but at the same time, I feel like no one would go up to Jessica Biel and say that. Like, you say that to, like, Ellen Page, because she seems, like, sweet and accessible and lovely.
Right, true.
And you feel like, oh, she'll, like, laugh and think that this is cute.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I saw Jessica Biel recently on a plane, and I was, you know, I couldn't ever talk to her at all.
No. I met her very, very briefly, and I was just like, how is it? How are you doing that?
Yeah, whatever you, like, just sitting there. How are you just sitting there like you do? It was fucking crazy.
It's like magic. It's like black magic.
It's some weird birth thing. Mm-hmm. Like there are these people that are born into the world, and you see them on the street, and you're like,
you're like, oh, thank you that I got to see you today.
That's right. It's like
thank you for being
some rare
like
animal. You're like, oh, there's one.
Shh, be very quiet.
Don't
don't
distract her, and we'll be able to watch her for a little longer. But yeah, I could see Ellen in you, and like there's like Janine's like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Janine has like when I work with Garofalo, you know, you just get these flocks of dudes, and oddly they don't look threatening because they don't look like they get out much. A lot of them, they're like, hey, I just want to, you know, and it's endearing, but you know, you never know when one of them is gonna.
Right, you never know which one is crazy.
But also the fact that list thing, I mean, that's also basically saying like, yeah, fuck you if you're into it. Are you into it? Because
I have thought about you in the shower.
A lot,
at least once.
This morning, I'm kind of mad I did because I didn't think I'd run into you. What am I? So I'm kind of done for today, but tomorrow. But all right. So you're that girl for a lot of people. You're
sweet.
Sort of sweet.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, you did it. All right. So you're growing up in Portland, and how does the first break come? Are you a good student? Because you started very young.
Yeah.
Acting. So did you?
I was like a pretty good student, like kind of A's and B's situation. I wasn't like, you know,
when you got a dad as a teacher, you're either going to go either way. Either you're going to fuck it all up or at least do pretty well.
Yeah.
You did pretty well.
Yeah, I did pretty, yeah. And I started, I mean, I did like community theater when I was little.
Like how little though? Because it seems like you were like insanely young.
I think I did my first play. I did Annie. It was one of the orphans when I was like 6.
Right. Where, in Portland?
In Portland. Yeah. I mean, you know, real like local productions of stuff.
But real productions. Yeah.
And then I did like a couple more kind of regional theater things, and then I auditioned for some stuff on Broadway when I was like 10.
So your parents are schlepping you down to New York.
Yeah. I mean, I think they were, like, the way that I've come to think of it is that they were sort of bewildered but supportive.
Mm-hmm.
So they were like into it and helpful, and they like would drive me down for auditions, and at first my like, you know, this agent that was like a children's agent that was willing to take me on, like wanted to send me up for commercials and stuff, and oh man, was I bad at that. Like,
really?
I mean,
when you were a kid, like, you know, like
looking back on it, I'm kind of amazed that I didn't just go like, yeah, okay, you want me to stand here and be like, L'Oreal Kid shampoo is the greatest, sparkles, whatever. I was like, why would I be this excited about shampoo?
You're already thinking like an actor. Can you give me some direction? Is there some way to get me excited?
No, and casting directors would like when you would be, I don't know if you've done like a lot of commercial auditions, but like when you're in like a group of like 6. You know, well, for me, kids, you wouldn't be in a group of 6 kids.
No,
but
that'd be awkward.
You know, when you're in a group of 6 kids, and they're like,
kids.
Marc, please stop coming in. This L'Oreal shampoo is for kids, it's for children.
I know, but I should have a right.
It's ageist.
yeah, exactly.
So I would be like in a group of 6 kids, and they would specifically like call me out for they'd be like, Anna, can you know, look down at their little card of who's in the room and go like, Anna, can you be like a little more excited and a little more happy? And I would kind of just try to do it, but I was like, what the fuck is going on?
I'm sorry, I cannot get behind this shampoo.
But it wasn't like out of some sense of superiority or anything.
Right.
I just was like, well, how can they do this? How can they like just be on? And I can't.
You weren't cut out for that.
No,
you're lucky in a way.
So I stopped going to commercial auditions and only auditioned for like musicals because at that age, like, you know, one thing, you know, there were some girls who could be really excited about shampoo, and I could like fill a room with sound, and I don't mean that to be like 12-year-old like retroactive bragging, but for such a small person, I had a pretty big voice, so
you could belt it out.
Yeah, so mostly then we stopped coming like, you know, 6 hours to audition for some commercial, like, and we would only come down for
Broadway stuff.
For Broadway musical stuff or national tours and stuff like that. I wasn't like only Broadway for me.
Right.
But just anything with singing, because I felt like, oh, I actually have a shot.
Right.
You know.
And also, I imagine your mom was like, you go in for those commercials, you're like in and out in like 2 minutes.
Exactly.
And you just drove 6 hours, and then it's sort of like, well, you want to get lunch in the city?
Yeah. But exactly like that. Yeah. You know, my parents worked full time, and so eventually my brother and I would go together, and he was 14 and I was 12, and we would take Greyhound buses.
And what was the first gig?
The first gig was High Society, which was on Broadway.
And how old were you?
I was 12.
And that was huge, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was huge for me. The show only ran like 6 months, but I was nominated for a Tony Award, so that was obviously like enormous for me.
That was it.
Yeah.
All eyes on you.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, like, I still didn't really understand what the fuck was happening. Like, if I did a show at this age and was nominated for Tony, I would like weep and it'd be amazing. Whereas at the time, I was like, awesome. Somebody thought I did a good job. It's amazing.
Can I do it again now?
But like now, I don't know if you have this, but like if you want a job and like all you want to do is just like get the job, book the job, and then you get it, and then the new fear sets in of, oh, what if I'm not good? And, you know, like, getting the job feels like the challenge, and then you get it, and then the whole new, like, wave of anxiety sets in of, like, oh, I'm gonna be bad in it, and maybe, like, I was, like, they only hired me because they couldn't get so-and-so, and, you know.
Oh, you still go through that?
Oh, yeah. And
also now the pressure's
age,
on
like,
because, you know, you're a known thing. So you're actually competing against yourself.
Yeah,
in a weird way.
Yeah. Like, like one hit wonder sort of thing.
Well, just sort of like, you know, you have, but I think you seem to be someone is very in control and understands your talent. But it's surprising to me that you still, you feel like you're actually getting something by default. Because I know that happens, but I wouldn't think it would happen to you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like...
Have you heard stories where it's sort of like, that was originally offered to...
Well, I think people are very careful to make sure that kind of information doesn't get around.
They're trying to protect you.
Yeah.
Don't fuck with her confidence.
Yeah.
She's doing so well. You have a team of people to protect you from yourself and knowing these things.
But some people and some people's teams are like, they have a different relationship and they're very open about like, oh, you know, they offered it to so and so.
Yeah, you blew it.
And then
she got it.
Yeah, and then like, oh, well, they didn't want it, so actually they're gonna offer it to you. And I'm like, that I would just curl up in a ball in my trailer and not be able to do it. I'd be like, they wanted fucking whoever.
And you couldn't stop picturing that person doing it, how they would do it, how their choice would handle it.
I end up like doing some weird Jessica Biel impression. I'm studying tape of her, like they wanted her.
I think that you know, I'm not in the same game as you are, but like there's that idea that it was offered to so and so and they took it, and then like that type of insecurity where you actually are like, well, maybe I can be better like they are, like maybe it's horrible. So you go from the Tonys, and then like do you like, I don't know the exact trajectory of your career, but I mean, what happens between the Tonys and Up in the Air?
I did a couple more like sort of workshops for like new Broadway shows, which is as it turned out was a mistake because at that age you would just outgrow it by the time it went to stage. But
the bottom line is that because of the Tony nomination and your performance, you were integrated into that community as a force to be reckoned with at the age you were at.
Yeah. I mean,
you got opportunities to learn.
Exactly. So I was also like, I had plenty of time in between. I had like a totally normal, like high school experience. Really? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like I would go to the city to audition for stuff, but like, you know.
You had regular friends.
Yeah.
And you had, driving around with boys and that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
You were.
Yeah.
Well, God.
Boys really liked flat-chested theater nerds. Let me tell you.
So basically you're attracting the same men now that you were in high school.
Yeah.
Good.
I think also part of it is truly I was sort of terrified of boys growing up.
Yeah. So you were really kind of nerdy.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't like socially comfortable. Yeah. That's for sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to be like, I don't want to say I'm nerdy to like for cred, you know.
I'm not going to let you.
Okay, great.
I will question your nerd credibility. But you were a theater girl, and that's its own thing.
Yeah.
So in high school, you were singing and dancing, and you were hanging out with guys who were confused, and and you know that was its own world. I like the people I talk to that come from that. I think it's sort of sweet because it is its own community, and there is a sort of interest around expressing yourself. I think there's a real gift to the theater nerd life in high school, as opposed to competing on the big social field of where people get just brutalized. At least if you're a theater nerd and the jocks and the bros and the cheerleaders mock you, you can at least seek strength in the other fragile people who are working on the production.
And like with any group of people in any town, there's like there would be jerks on the football team and nice guys on the football team. I don't know. I didn't fucking know them.
Was there much theater football crossover?
No.
The one guy?
No.
None, right?
None. And similarly, like, there were some really amazing people in our theater program who, you know, like, challenged me and were interesting, and there were some jerks and some, like, idiots, and, you know.
Challenged you how?
Well, we had a drama coach who like did our who like directed the school plays and stuff, and then there was a drama teacher for like a course in our school, and the drama teacher was really nice and great, and the drama coach hated me and didn't cast me in anything.
He hated you.
She hated me.
Oh, really? And you know that to be true?
Yeah, I mean, I think she
were you too talented?
She sort of cursed at me a lot. Like she was really kind of unkind.
Was she bitter?
It's.
Is she still there? Is that why you're protecting her?
I don't know. I have no idea where she is.
Because I find that interesting. That like,
but I think she used to like say crazy stuff. Like she used to be like, "Well, I would have been a Broadway actress if I hadn't had kids," and she would like say it in front of her kids, and it was like, what the fuck?
She was completely bitter.
I guess, yeah.
What do you even guess at that? Like that sentence in itself. So there was a competitive thing, like because like it's those kind of adults that fuck people up for life.
It felt like that a little bit. Like at the time, I was like, no, like she's just not casting me because there are people who are better. Like I'm just not getting in. You know, she doesn't want to put me in the play because
this is after you did Broadway.
Yeah,
and we're nominated for Tony, so you represented.
But I think she was very good at whatever that like domineering teacher thing is. That makes you think like, oh well, she knows best and. Okay, like, and then she, like, would dole out, like, a little bit of encouragement, and it would just keep you high for, like, a week, and then she would, you know.
So she was a horrible, mean person. That's what she was. She's just like, here you go, you're doing great, and, like, But, like, even now, for me to look back on it, and, like, if somebody told me that had happened to someone else, I'd be like, oh, that person was just being like a bitch. And but for me, there's still part of my brain that's like, no, like she. Oh, good.
So she's still in there rattling around.
Yeah, I would keep an eye on that part of your brain.
Okay. Okay.
Because that's the part of your brain that'll get you into a really bad relationship and stay in it for a long time.
Yeah. And so then I graduated from high school early so that I could go to New York.
Did you have a high school boyfriend?
No. I had a high school crush. Like a big, fat, stupid crush. Like all-consuming crush.
With a theater guy?
He was kind of a theater guy.
Was he a loner guy?
Yeah.
One of
kind
those?
of a, you know. Yeah. And I was like, I think that is a theme that has followed me around, which is like that people who are quiet and boring to me is like, oh, he's tortured and beautiful.
What's going on in there?
Yeah. And that followed me around for a while. I think I got rid of that, but that's been a fun theme for me.
You like guys that talk now?
Yeah. Big fan of verbal communication. But graduated and went to New York to do a little night music at New York City Opera.
Now, did you see this as that was you were okay with the idea, or maybe gunning for the life of a stage actress? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was what you wanted.
Yeah, I mean, all I ever wanted was to make a living, like
as an actress.
Yeah, in whatever form that took, and for a long time, and once I moved to LA. I was like, oh, like if I could just get on a show, then I would
really?
Just be on a crime procedural where maybe I got to make a joke once an episode. That would be great because
really?
I just wanted to do the job. And then also keep the lights on.
Did you study? Did you go to college or did you?
No, I started when I was 12, and I had a handful of bad experiences with acting coaches that I went to and
stuff.
What
kind of bad experiences?
Just where I just felt like this is about you showing me what you would do, and I think I'm sure that there are acting programs and acting coaches who are incredible and giving and open, and I happen to have 3 in a row that were just showing me what they would do.
Because you seem to have this amazing natural talent. I mean, if you can do song and dance already, that's an entire 2 years of acting school you don't need. If you can do it, what do you need to take movement class for?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, part of me is curious. Like, what would it be like to take a movement class? Like, what do they learn? I don't know. Like, would you? I mean, but then part of me just thinks it's just getting to do it. Like, like I've learned so much because I've gotten to work. Like, I learn by working. It's not like I've been learning like sitting in front of my computer on Reddit. Like, I don't, you only learn by doing it. And and so if you're not working, then get in a class. Right. Because you're just like figuring it out.
So you're in New York and you're doing stage work. So that the Tony nomination was huge. I mean, that changed the whole game.
Well, yeah, I mean, but then of course there was like a period where, I think going through puberty and stuff, I was like, oh, okay, so am I like still auditioning for like children's parts? Because I was so small my whole life. Right. Am I still like auditioning for children's parts? Especially on stage, you can get away with, playing children. Yeah. Or am I supposed to be like the ingenue? Right. And I mean, in A Little Night Music, I was playing a 13-year-old. I was 17, but I was playing a 13-year-old.
That's right. You were going to have Judy Garland's career. You're going to play a famous a child and then be a cabaret singer for the rest of your life.
So there was part of me that was worried about, like just being like, Daisy Egan won a Tony when she was like 10 years old. Yeah. And she, I think, is like still working, but there was a long period where she kind of couldn't get arrested. I think.
Like what are you going to do with
her?
This child phenomenon.
Exactly.
Once you can't be cast as a kid.
So I was like, oh, I'm like a 14-year-old has-been, and, that was fun.
And what changed it?
Well, it certainly wasn't like a one event that I can point to. Like after Little Night Music, I did a pilot. That's what got me to LA. I auditioned for, I had done this movie Camp that was like directed by a theater guy and had all musical theater kids in it. And this casting director had seen that, and I was in LA. He had me audition for Rocket Science, and I did Rocket Science. And that movie, nobody saw that movie, but filmmakers saw that movie. Right. So I got up in the air based on that.
Really?
It was written for me
Rocket
based
Science.
on that.
On Rocket Science.
Yeah. Yeah. A movie that nobody saw. But like Jonathan Levine, who directed 50-50, Jason Reitman wrote Up in the Air for me after seeing Rocket Science. Like it's just funny the way that people are like, so then you did Up in the Air. And and of course like there was stuff like it's like a funny chain of events. I think so often like you don't understand what the opportunity when you're in it. Yes. And then and you look back on it and you're like, holy crap, that was
when you got it
crazy.
Did you feel ready? I mean, were you like, okay, here we go? I mean, I can do this?
Oh no, I thought it was a mistake. I thought no. When I got the job, like, cause my agents were like, we think you're going to get an offer like on Monday. And I was like, guys, you were not in that room with me. It did not go well.
But
like,
I thought he wrote it for you.
But he did, but I didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
Like, so I thought he didn't like me. I was like, okay, thank you very much. Like, thank you for the opportunity and come in and read for you, whatever. I was like, okay, great. Driving home from Santa Monica, like, well, that sucked. Yeah. And the
long ride after the bad audition.
So I was like, what? Yeah, exactly.
Like traffic.
So brutal. Doing it again in your head, like,
I should have.
Oh God, why didn't I play it more? Fuck. But like the entire time, I was just sort of waiting for them to be like, here's the thing. Yeah. Like it's not going well.
They really liked you. That weird tone. Yeah. They thought you did a great audition. But so what was the call?
Well, they just like told me, like they said, like on a Friday they were like, we think you're gonna get an offer on Monday. They'd like heard through channels, and I was like, I don't think you're correct. Like, and when your agent calls you and tells you you're probably gonna get an offer, you're getting an offer. Right. But I was like, no, like don't tell me that. It's not gonna happen. And then they called me and said like, yeah, it's happening. So then like, but the first like week, I was just like, what am I doing? Like,
George Clooney.
This is crazy. Yeah. And George was so nice. And
did he call you after
No, I didn't meet him until we were on set together. But there was the first thing that we shot together. We were standing. We were doing kind of a walk and talk, and we were standing waiting to go. And he was like, "Do you get nervous?" I get nervous. I was like, oh my God. Like, that was like the smallest thing, but just like opened up my whole world,
He's a pro.
Yeah, total pro. Like, I mean,
He probably did that.
He probably does that for everybody when he can tell that like they're like, what am I doing here? I don't belong here. Right. Like just a couple words from him, and you're like, oh my God, he's a person and I'm a person. We're the same.
Yeah, because like he knows that. I mean, not in an arrogant way, but he knows
that he makes people nervous.
Well, he's George Clooney. Yeah. Like he knows that you've got to be standing there going like, that's fucking George Clooney, like right there.
Yeah.
But your performance in that was so amazing. When you work with somebody like him, who I think is, an amazing movie star and an amazing actor. I mean, how else did he make you comfortable? I mean, what did you learn from that dynamic? I mean, as opposed to working with the people you work with.
I think, like, looking back on it, I think there were times that he could tell that I was, like, in my head overthinking, and there was a day when I was really in my head about a scene that we were about to do, and he was, like, throwing Nerf footballs around and, like, intentionally kind of hitting me and stuff, like, which at the time, I was genuinely like, bro, I'm, like, trying to get in the scene and stuff, but, it was like, you need to, like, snap out of it a little bit. And then there was a day when we were shooting the scene where I'm sitting across from the computer screen and I'm firing a guy over the computer screen for the first time. It's like an older guy.
Right, I remember that scene, yeah.
And George was sitting next to me, and he sat there next to me all day, because I like couldn't move. I was like stuck to it. Was like such a complicated, heavy scene, and they were like moving camera equipment and stuff, and I like just was sitting there, and he sat next to me, like kind of just like feeling me out, and like he would do the scene with me. Like at one point I was like, oh, can you run lines with me? And he just like immediately did the scene with me, and I didn't realize until later, like, he's like a fucking movie star. He could have just fucked off and, called
gone to his trailer.
Yeah, gone to his trailer, called his agent, whatever, let alone, like, run a scene with me that he's not even in. I mean, he's there, but he, he ran the other guy's lines with me.
Oh, really?
That kind of, like, generosity was, it's something I think about all the time.
That's
like,
sweet.
That if he can be that generous, like, everybody should be able to do that.
Right. That's amazing story. And I didn't so all at the same time you did Up in the Air and you're doing the Twilight thing. And then like that was a pretty big few years for you. And Scott Pilgrim, just like boom, boom, boom. The Twilight thing. Now I can't even imagine the type of fans you have for this. Like
no, I didn't when you said Twilight I kind of laughed and I didn't mean to, but because we were shooting a scene for Pitch Perfect in this like kind of crazy house in Louisiana, and they put our
just now the Pitch Perfect 2?
Yeah. And they put us in this room, like for holding, like they were like, all the girls like hang out in there, and the daughter was like a big Twilight fan, and like this room has blank spaces on the wall, and that room had no blank spaces on the wall. Like there's a lot of art in this room.
Yeah.
This room was covered floor to ceiling
with Twilight
stuff. And I was like, this is maybe where I die. I don't know. But I mean, like I didn't actually meet the girl, but I had heard that like her thing to her mom was like, I could be like into heroin, or like I'm into Twilight, like what's the big fucking deal?
Right.
And if that's her attitude, then cool, like whatever you're into, like it's a little intense. You should know that it's a little aggressive when like, and people might get the wrong idea when they come into your room. But like if your attitude is just like, this is what I'm into, so sue me, like fantastic, whatever. Well, but it is visually aggressive.
So you're doing the second Pitch Perfect movie,
yes.
And that movie was very popular again with, I think, a different type of teenage girl than Twilight.
Yes.
So you're covering
There's a fair amount of crossover. I mean, yeah, I think maybe just as the Twilight girls were growing up and growing out of that, then, Pitch Perfect was there to catch them. I don't know.
Okay.
A fair amount.
Did you ever see yourself as, like, it seemed to me that in looking at your stuff that you would be this pop star? I mean, that song would blow up?
It's actually really funny. I was talking to Keegan-Michael Key, and I had said that I was going to do your show because I really liked his episode. And we talked about that a little bit. And then I started talking about this thing that happens with the Twilight fans and with the Pitch Perfect fans, where part of me genuinely feels whenever like children come up to me and they're like, hi, like as though I'm like Mickey Mouse at Disney, I'm like, what are you doing? Get away from me. I'm terrible. Like, inside, I'm like this 75-year-old grizzled man who's like, ugh, children, ugh, everything. Like, the sun, get it out. Like, and part of me is genuinely, like, has to remind myself, like, oh, right, like, you have to be, like, on and okay for when...
That's your job.
When, like, little girl... But I was like, because...
you don't have to be.
Because Keegan was like, you should say that to Marc Maron. Because I was like, oh my God, yeah. It's like if you suddenly found yourself in a situation where like little kids were like, oh my gosh, Mr. Maron, can I like talk to you? You would be like, why?
I would talk to their parents and say like, you shouldn't let this
You
kid...
shouldn't. That's how I feel. I'm like, don't let your child near me.
Yeah.
I'm like...
Have you listened to what I do?
I'm the worst.
Yeah, but only you know that. Like, you know, from if kids were coming up to me from, you know, based on what I put out in the world, I would have to question their parents' permissive to, you know.
Yeah.
And I'd also feel bad for the kid, and I'd probably be like, look, I'm going to try to help you out. Save you a little time. Because if you're identifying with me at this age, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
But for you, I imagine that you have a choice.
And it's not like I don't enjoy the experience. It's not like I'm like, oh, like these kids. Right, it's not like I'm getting something bad out of that experience. I'm just like, oh my God, what could they possibly want from me? Right,
because there's always going to be that separation between the role and you, and they only know the role.
Yeah.
So like it's weird, I guess, as a person with that type of celebrity, you know, you could choose to be a dick. But you know, why not just be like, oh, hi, you know, but because they can't really censor inner dialogue unless you spend a lot of time with them. And if you're spending a lot of time with your child fans, is it
problematic.
All right. So, but the pop star thing now, is that something, are you making more records?
No.
No. You don't want to do that?
No.
It's big though.
I mean,
that song was big.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would rather have one big accidental hit song than like make a record. I mean, I don't like write songs. I don't, you know.
Okay.
It's not for me.
That's fine. I do want to talk about Happy Christmas. Oh, and I do want to talk about the movie we were both in. When's that fucking coming out?
What movie?
Get a Job.
Oh my God.
What the fuck happened to that movie?
I know. That's so fun. Bryan Cranston came up to me at Comic-Con and was like, what happened to the movie? Marcia Gay Harden came up to me at this, like, charity event and was like, what happened to that movie?
Now
like,
I am.
Everybody is like,
in that movie.
What are we...
But how many people... He had everyone in the movie. I mean, I'm not anybody, but I did one scene in it. I played the sleazy hotel manager.
Oh, and Jay Farrow. When I did SNL, Jay Farrow was like, when is that movie coming out?
Yeah, he was in the scene I was in.
That is crazy.
When is it coming out?
I don't think it is, bro. I think it's just like, it's Limbo? Like a mystery. It's like gonna never, ever.
Well, it's one of those things that
honestly, at this point, like, it's been it was a very, like, kind of
few years
topical comedy
and all
thing.
All you young guns were in it, and now you're all, like, you know, middle-aged people.
I know, like, Miles Teller. I know, now, like, it's supposed to be like, we're fresh out of college.
Right.
And,
that's weird.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like a big budget movie. And what was the name of that director? He was like
Dylan Kidd. Yeah. Great director.
Yeah. It was crazy.
It's crazy to me that can happen. Like, why they wouldn't just... I mean,
how bad could it be, or what happened?
No, I've heard several explanations about, like, the, you know, distribution companies being split up and, you know, it's just in limbo and whatever. But, yeah, part of me is like...
But not even on DVD?
I don't...
It's crazy.
It's crazy because it's just like... Somebody must want to make some money back. No?
You would think.
No?
I mean, everyone was fucking in it. It's weird. Like, all you guys were... I'm lumping you into with everybody. But yeah, Miles Teller, you, Cranston.
Nick Braun, Chris Mintz-Plasse.
And Allison Brie.
Yeah, Allison was in it.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, we'll see what happens. So, now, like, I went and saw Happy Christmas at the Roxy in San Francisco.
Oh, far out.
It was kind of wild because I was with somebody up there and we were just on vacation, and I'm like, let's go see it. And we get there, and it was the program directors last night, and they Skyped in Joe Schomburg for an interview.
No way.
For Q&A. So, like, I didn't say anything because I came in at the end of that viewing, but he actually did this Q&A over Skype with this small audience.
That's crazy. I didn't even know that was happening.
Yeah. And
I felt really bad because I was like doing Pitch Perfect and I couldn't even promote it. I felt like such a douche.
Well, I don't know a lot of his movies, but he's sort of the mumblecore guy, and he sort of developed this thing. And he, like, when I heard him speaking, he went out of his way to shoot it on actual film, and you can feel that.
Yeah.
Like, I noticed that when I watched it, it's like, I haven't felt that in a while. It does make a difference. There's an immediacy to the performances, and there's a tone to the actual film itself that, it's its own thing. It felt like a real little movie, and it had that kind of rawness to it. But for you to choose, how'd that come about? Because your performance was great, and I like the movie a lot, but it's so contrary to anything else that you're doing.
Yeah. I had basically...
Joe Swanberg. I'm sorry, I said Schomburg. Yeah, go ahead.
I had made Pitch Perfect, and I made Get a Job.
Yeah.
I was just sort of feeling like I'd made two movies that were like almost kind of safe. And so my agent set up this Skype meeting with Joe, and I felt really kind of freaked out about doing a movie that was all improv, and I thought that was
Had you never done that?
No. Like all improv. Like there's no paper involved.
Right, but had you done improv scenes before?
Sure. I mean, but no more than, than most people on most movies.
Like a third take? Like, why don't we just do one?
And like, and do alts.
Right.
It's not really like it's not like the same.
Right.
And he was talking about making drinking buddies, and part of me was like, this is terrifying, you shouldn't do this. And then, I was like, I sort of really genuinely went into it thinking like, it's okay to fail. Like, it's okay if you're bad at this, and it's okay if the movie's not like incredible, and like that will be okay. Like the world won't end if you fail. And
did you like his movies though?
Yeah, I liked his movies, and that attitude was mostly coming from, I just literally had no idea what it would be like to do a movie where someone pointed a camera at you and you were like, okay, great.
So you knew how he worked.
I mean, that was where I learned. And I had such a great time on that the day that we wrapped, he was like, hey, do you want to make this movie in December for like even smaller budget, like a quarter of the budget?
Did he shoot that one on film as well?
I don't think
so. He did. Because he sort of made a point to really say that he was doing it. So that was
because normally you just can't afford it,
Right.
And with Happy Christmas, the budget was something like $80,000, and all of it went to the film stuff.
Right.
And the rest of it, we shot it in his house, and I wore my own clothes, and I did my own makeup, and we like.
Drinking Buddies I haven't seen that, but it's not really that old of a film.
No. We shot Drinking Buddies in August and shot Happy Christmas in December.
So the experience with working with Joe Swanberg was very specific.
It was so good that like I hadn't even seen a cut of Drinking Buddies before we made Happy Christmas.
But you liked the experience.
Because I just loved the experience so much.
Because the character in Happy Christmas is endearing but troubled.
Yes, the character in Drinking Buddies is very together and sort of the most together person in the film, and very sure of herself. Like she not sure of herself, but she just knows who she is and she knows what's going on. And so I was really excited that Joe wanted me to play someone who was so lost.
Well, it's also it must be an amazing exercise as an actress where you're at in your acting career and having done the stuff that you've done to really do something new and challenge yourself as an actor.
Yeah, I mean, I've really never played somebody who's a total mess, and I was excited that Joe saw that in me, like saw that I was capable of that, and really really excited to do it because I feel like it was scary,
yeah,
but I feel like that is something that I really wanted to like explore and play with,
and also working with Melanie. I mean, she's amazing.
Heaven. She's heaven.
I don't see her enough.
Yeah, she's an incredible person and actress, and it was, a total privilege. Like, she was the first person that Joe mentioned about, to play his wife, and I was like, oh, are you kidding? Like, because she was in Up in the Air, but we didn't get to work together. Right. So I was so excited.
Would she play the sister? The
sister.
Right.
But I had met her, and I thought she was just lovely, and I think she's so talented, but we never interacted, so I was so excited to be able to do scenes with her.
And what did you learn about yourself or about acting in general from working with her and working in that sort of situation? Because when I saw Joe Swanberg talk about the actual idea that that's the way film was made at some other point in time, where you had to really kind of be deliberate and you didn't have a million takes, and that you sort of had to get it. And did you find yourself like in the back of your head? Because I know in working in the limited way I do in television, that you're like, what does it cost to do another take?
Right.
Why not do 20? Who gives a shit?
Right.
We're not burning anything but time. We're not burning film stock. So did you have that in the back of your head? Were you aware that like we're not going to do this again?
Well, there were sort of two things going on, which was absolutely that we're shooting it on film, and also that my character in Drinking Buddies, the challenge was knowing when to listen, because I thought the hardest thing about doing movies like this would be coming up with stuff to say.
Yeah.
Someone's like, oh, we're going to do a movie and the entire thing is improv. Your brain first goes to like, oh, what if I can't think of like,
right,
how to move the scene forward and what to say and how to be charming and funny and stuff
right.
like that. And actually, it's really easy to just run your mouth and fill time.
Right.
And it was challenging to
know
when to just be still. Here we are.
Yeah.
When to be still and when to listen.
Uh-huh.
And especially because I was playing someone who is really comfortable with herself, which is hard for me to play. That was sort of the challenge on that movie. And
what'd you put in place to do that in your mind?
I based my character on my sister-in-law, who's married to my brother. And
just behaviorally, and when there were moments in your mind where you're like, oh, what did she say that?
She's she's a teacher, and my character in Drinking Buddies is a teacher, and she teaches all levels of special needs in like an inner city school, and she just has this like well of patience, and and I'm very like impressed by her as a human being. So I just tried to like channel Liza. And then the trick for Happy Christmas became, I should be like filling the time because this character can't shut up, doesn't know like when to shut up. But then of course the risk is that it's a deeply personal process, and you end up saying something that is like, oh, I just put that on film for the whole world to see. So not only was it like, oh, we don't get too many chances to do this, it's like my objective is to not self-censor at all and just say like whatever feels, like just the first idiotic thing that comes to my mind, and
right.
And to not go, oh no, just shut up.
Yeah.
Because
the character is very self-centered.
Yes, and the character is sort of based on the darkest parts of myself and the darkest parts of people I know well, and and part of me was like, oh, should I not be exposing this much? Not that people will like look at it and think anything, just that I'll feel exposed and vulnerable. But
it's it's interesting growing up in the world that we grow up in, or being like, it was all very familiar to me for some reason.
Yeah.
That character, it was not like this menacing, dark, kind of like, you're not concerned. You're like, no, I've dated that girl.
Yeah.
I've been that guy.
Yeah.
Like they're familiar. There's something about we're different generations, but there's something about, kind of the being young and a little fucked up and not knowing what to do and smoking weed and getting fucked up, and it's what we do. So so the emotions of that character were not anything people are going to be like, what the fuck?
I mean, I've been surprised by the varied reactions. Like that's
what?
Definitely my feeling. Like
right.
what, that like I know this girl and I've been this girl, and I know that like she's really making some bad decisions and she's embarrassing herself, and then like when she like is incapable of fucking apologizing, like I sympathize with that, and because that's so hard, and I've been surprised that other people's reactions to it are really like, you're a terrible person. Like, not even like your character.
Are these
like,
the 13-year-olds?
No, there was this woman at Sundance who was like, I just want to say, Melanie, like, you gave such an amazing performance, and like talked about Melanie's acting, and then goes, but I wanted to throttle. And like, it kind of undid me. Like, and it kind of like rang in my head for the rest of the night that this woman was like, so like, and she didn't say like, congratulations on your performance.
She couldn't make a separation.
No, she was just like, so, but she probably has a person like that in her life who is currently making her crazy.
Might be her daughter.
And she could go, oh, Melanie, you're me, and therefore, like, you did such a good job portraying me, and you're a nightmare, and you're a terrible person. Well,
that's an interesting thing that I learned recently is just how much, when you're a public person or you do creative things, and that you become this repository of people's projections. That they're not, they, like a lot of times, especially in a movie that is that raw and feels like that, they're not going to separate you from that character. And you're just going to serve that purpose. I mean, sadly, that's what makes, the art of drama, effective. Is that it's sort of what you have to live with, especially in a culture where it seems like now people are very incapable of separating reality from fiction. Almost everywhere. It's bizarre how some people will be like, that was just you. It's like, no, we shot a whole movie. And they just project that stuff. But I know that character is, it is a disturbing character, but I think it's a very common character.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I think you did a good job.
Thanks, man.
Did you watch it?
I did. Yeah, it was, it was really surprising to me watching it that, I felt like I was doing, like, I felt like when we were making it, like, more would come across on screen. And there were scenes when I was like, oh no, I should have, like nothing's really happening in this scene. And, it's like, it just feels like nothing's happening and I should have pushed myself or I should have done something different. Yeah. And then been so happy, beyond thrilled that people are like, oh, that scene at the end and I'm like, oh my God, like, I forget that, like, you can show restraint as an actor and as a filmmaker and, in any kind of art form, and people will feel, what you're feeling if it's honest,
right.
And if I had, like, pushed my, the emotion of that scene, I think it would have, ruined it.
Right.
But I was watching it going, like, because in traditional filmmaking, it would be like, this is the part where she cries.
Right.
This is the part where she apologizes. And, like, because you don't have a writer giving you the words, you're just you. And, like, you have to come up with the words. And I couldn't, I could barely muster, like, an apology. And when people were yelling at me in the movie, I just couldn't apologize, because that would be, it would have been impossible. But if it was written, I probably would have. I probably would have cried in that scene. I probably would,
Well, that's right, because that character in that movie was enabled to not possess that self-awareness. That was part of the thing of her, is that she was incredibly selfish, but, self-awareness would have just crumbled her. And that may be another movie, but that may be the journey of that fictional character.
Yeah.
But it was not that movie.
Right.
But yet, still at the end, it is a sympathetic character. And if people miss that, they got stuck somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
In fuck her.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, and I think because I so sympathize with people who, when they, like, clumsily attempt to say, like, this is what I'm feeling and this is, and I can sort of glean what's happening, and I'm like, you don't have to say it. Like, you don't,
right. Well, it's a character that is unable to take responsibility for her actions.
Yeah. But it doesn't mean that she doesn't feel ashamed, and she doesn't, and that in meeting Melanie's character, she finds someone who's willing to, like, her own brother is not necessarily willing to, like, take that leap and say, like, I know that she feels these things and she's just bad at telling me. And, like, Melanie's character is such a great compliment because she is open enough that she can see, like, I know what's happening.
Right, but also your character, there was a back and forth with that you were able to sort of, push her character through her fear, and then she was able to be empathetic with your character once, you were sort of working together in some weird way. I don't want to spoil the movie, but I was surprised in watching it. That had been a long time since I'd watched an independent film that is like that, where they aren't respecting, story points of how a movie should go. But there were points in that movie where I'm like, something really something really bad is gonna happen. And I had that moment where it's like, oh, it didn't. It just kind of went through that part. It was very honest.
Yeah.
And I thought it was great. So
it's like a very small story, but but it's very honest. Yeah.
Yeah. And you just don't see that much anymore. Even with, quote unquote independent movies, it's hard to really decipher what that means in terms of the freedom of the filmmaker, because there's so many restraints and people want to sell their movies. And it just seems like Joe, lets the thing breathe, and he's got a certain, point of view.
Yeah.
That seems to be growing. Like he's very sophisticated about what he wanted to do there.
Yeah. And I think, like I said, like there's definitely a feeling of like, it's okay to fail. And with Happy Christmas, we were all really kind of willing to be brave and know that we were shooting on film and, exposing like very personal parts of ourselves, because it was like for $80,000, nobody knew we were making it. It was like 9 people.
Right.
There was like a DP, a sound guy, there was 9 people.
Right.
It felt like we were kind of like getting away with something. We were like,
yeah.
no one knows we're here.
We're at Joe's house.
Which is crazy. Like, how many people work on your show and sign off on your show, and we were just like in his house making this movie. And so it also felt like, and when I said to you, like, oh, if you've seen Happy Christmas, and if you hate it, like that, like that's also fine. Like if you don't like it, like,
well, I'm very open-minded, and certainly when somebody, and I think that hearing Joe talk, having not really known him, and maybe at some point in my life, maybe I think I saw maybe one of his movies a while back, and I got it, but this seemed actually more sophisticated than whenever they were trying to label him. Like there's a tradition of real independent film that doesn't honor the constraints of what movie making is, like real renegade cinema.
Yeah.
And I think he does that, but he does it in a very vulnerable way, in a very relatable way. But he's making real art movies. Yeah. And not self-aware art movies, not like sort of
right. Yeah. That was the beautiful thing. There was no like producer rushing in and going, oh, at this point in the movie, shouldn't the boyfriend turn out to be blah 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 or whatever.
Yeah. And I have a tremendous respect for anybody that goes off the grid and does their own thing and was able to pull it together and get talent that like you and Melanie and do that thing. So when does Pitch Perfect 2 happen? When what's going on? And then you did this other big, like, what was the other big this exciting movie that you're in? Into the Woods? Yeah. That's the Merrill one. That's where I got to work with the incredible Miss Street. Now tell me about that movie. It's based on a musical. Stephen Sondheim musical. I know him. Yeah, see, I know that name. I wasn't trying to like shake. I wasn't trying to like. I think I knew it was Stephen Sondheim. So it do you sing in it? I do. So it's like it's of the Les Mis ilk. It's like a big movie, like like a musical. Yeah, it's like the new musicals that happen. The new musical, yeah. And Rob Marshall, who directed Chicago, is directing it. So he's like obviously one of the people who brought back the musical in the best possible way, because Chicago was just such a revelation. And it's based on all the fairy tales sort of meeting in the woods. Okay. That's Sondheim. He's a smart guy. Yeah. That's clever. Yeah, and it's very much about like, like going into the darkness and going, in, Who do you play? I play Cinderella, believe it or not. And it's the first act of the show is basically the stories kind of as you know them, like everyone's intersecting, which is new, but like it ends with me marrying the prince, and it's it's basically and Little Red Riding Hood gets away from the wolf, and Rapunzel escapes the tower, and it's all great, and then the second act is like what happens after Happily Ever After and all the consequences of your actions, and my prince cheats on me, and my that's what princes do. Yeah, it's like it's like a lot of high schools just do the first act of the show. Oh, okay. And of course the second act is like the mind-blowing, beautiful human thing. Yeah. It's just like so stunning and so smart. And you did work directly with Merle? Yeah, and she sings this song I can't even imagine what that must be. Oh, it was insane. I mean, I was with James Corden, and he at one point was like, people would pay so much money to like get a chance to see this happening, and we just get to be here. Yeah. Like, I mean, you could raffle off like the chance to watch Meryl Streep sing The Last Midnight at the end of Into the Woods. Like, it would raise, tons of money. Like people would pay insane amounts of money, and we just get to fucking be here, like us idiots. It's amazing. What was it like? There's a completely line. Amazed. There's a line
she sings a song to us basically about you know, like everyone wants to self-identify as the good guy, of course, and that she is like, okay, so I'm the bad guy, but I'm right, and that sort of there's this line where she's like, you're so nice. You're not good. You're not bad. You're just nice. And she, like, just watching her say that to me, like, filled me with this, like, shame, this, like, deep, I was just like, oh my God, this is crazy. You know, because she is saying, like, these are the consequences of your actions. And apparently I'm the only one who's ready to deal with them. And maybe it won't be easy and we'll have to, like, get some blood on our hands. But we're in dire straits. And this is happening, but we're all like, no, we're the good guys. We wouldn't do anything bad.
Yeah,
like
the good stories. Yeah,
and it's basically the choice between doing something nasty to save ourselves, or just, you know, standing there and going, no, we don't. You know, it's like we're kind of grappling with like, but we're the good guys.
Right. So the actual idea is that you're actually grappling with the single dimension of the fairy tale, of the story, that, as if your character had to live by that. And this is like her.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
like, so, yeah.
Clever.
So people kind of coming to terms with.
But were you able to sort of, like, was there a moment in her process where, you know, not unlike, well, I don't want to compare her to him just because we talked about it, but like as an actress, to see the difference between Merle kind of like before the scene and then like, because I just imagine her transformation has got to be mind blowing.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and she was not, you know, she would just be joking before the takes and stuff, which is just, you know, so impressive. And to me, because I don't know how you don't like just take a second, but she's just, I mean, her, like, I don't know, it's just you work your muscle that frequently and that well, and you're just like, oh, this is no big deal. I got this. It's only the climax of the movie. I'm just excellent.
Right.
But I mean, you know, we were in like scenes where there was like a lot of blocking and a lot of characters, and she was always thinking about, you know, about everything and everyone in that scene, and it's easy to just think about what your job is in that scene. And she was sort of like, okay, but if she's over there, wouldn't I be thinking about, you know, like,
right,
you know, like, because I've got to have an eye on her.
She's
because,
asking questions.
Yeah. Like when we were in the rehearsal process and when we were blocking everything out, she was very like aware of every other character, and I heard that from other people who did other scenes with her, that she was very, very much like, okay, but, you know,
but now
like that. Yeah, I mean,
do you see the benefit in that for you? Is that something that now you as an actor would integrate into your thinking?
I mean, I hope so. Yeah. Like to be, because it's always fun and easy to do a scene with one other person or two other people. But yeah, I mean, that's normally what I do. But on movies with a bigger cast, it's so easy to just think, okay, but like,
what do I do?
Yeah, what do I do? What do I say? What's important? Like, what do I need to do? And like, when's the camera going to be on me? And I need to make sure that I'm ready for that, and not be thinking about how the whole scene is going to feel. And you know, I don't know that I would be like, shouldn't she? You know, because I'm not Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
But at least to be aware of like how the rhythm of that scene is going to be affected, and how you can aid the like the feeling of the scene and the feeling of the piece, as opposed to just like, I just want to say my line. Yeah. Good. You know?
Yeah. How do your parents feel about all this? Are they excited? Are they thrilled? Do they come to premieres? Are they like, she did it?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I felt like when they came last Christmas, they came to my place and stayed at my place, and I kind of felt like that, because that was something real, like, because like good reviews and like going to premieres and stuff is sort of abstract, you know, and I think for them to see, like, I am their daughter and I grew up in Maine and I wanted to be an actress, which is insane, and I moved to California and I'm like living in a house that I bought because I did it. Like, was like, oh, she did it. Yeah. You know, like, that was a really beautiful moment. Like, I kind of got all like teary, and I was just like, anyway, this is like, so this is like my backyard, and it's cool. Cause,
Did they get teary?
I mean, I don't know that they were especially teary or anything, but like I could just feel that they were like, oh, yeah, okay, like you're, and it was almost like anything, like, like that it was like, oh, you bought a house or you got married or you like whatever. It's just like you're a person.
Right.
And so it's not like it's almost like acting wasn't even really a part of it.
Right.
It was more just like,
she did all right.
She's like, it would be like, because I don't have an office that I could show them, like, but if I was like, oh, this is my office, and it's like where I do my work, and it would be like that, like, oh, she's like really a person who's like got a life, and and
you sort of,
and I didn't expect that. I was just like, so here's my house.
But you felt it.
Yeah, I felt like that they were like, oh, okay, like. Right.
The emotion was
there's like a solid thing happening here. You have like a home. Yeah. And so like you're going to be okay.
Right. But your emotion must have been that sort of that weird moment of realizing that separation, that there is that weird moment where, you spend all that time with your parents who are supportive, and they're, everyone's hoping for the best, but you don't really think about that way. But it seems like that moment where you got emotional was like, I am a person.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not just like Jan's kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that. Oh my God. I have.
Yeah.
Because you sort of run through life. Like sometimes I walk through this house, which is, no prize, but like it happened the other night because, I'm alone over here now. And it's just sort of like, I own a house. When the fuck did that? And I'm 50. Like,
yeah.
And I just never, like, I didn't know how to buy a house when I bought this house. Mm-hmm. There's that moment where you're like, I'm a grown up person.
I'm a homeowner.
Right. And a grown person. Yeah. So what's this problem with your neighbors?
Oh, God. So, admittedly, like the outside of my house I'm away all the time, and I've got like a couple things that I need to do, like some structural stuff that I need, just to make sure that everything's like up to code and whatever. And so I hadn't bothered like putting like nice landscaping in like the surrounding area of my, which is like very small, by the way, like extremely like thin little strip of whatever. But apparently it's like displeasing to the eyes of my neighbors, and several of them have like left notes.
Oh my God.
Being like, oh, but here's my favorite. Someone went through the trouble of finding like some fake website that, I mean, they must have just like been pissed off and like Googled like Anna Kendrick earnings or something, and like this extremely fake website that said that last year I made $86 million.
What?
I was like, if I made $86 million, I would live in a palace in Dubai. Like, you think I would be in Beachwood Canyon? Like, so they printed this out. They printed out this fake page that was like, and it said that I had a fashion line, and like,
So they were like, why can't you?
And they folded it up, and they were like, maybe you should use some of your millions to like get a landscaper or whatever. And it's just made me like, yeah, I'm gonna wait. Yeah. I'm just gonna take my time.
To me, that defines the word cunty. I don't mean to be rude, but that is so cunty. Do you know who did it?
I don't really care.
But it's so...
Oh, it's so cunty. It's just like...
It is, right?
Oh, yeah.
Worst. Yeah, don't do it. I would maybe get some car parts and just scatter them about. Just get something up on blocks out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it was great talking to you.
You too.
You feel like we did what we needed to do?
Yeah, sure.
It was nice to see you. It's a pleasure to meet you. I was nervous.
You were nervous?
Yeah.
I was nervous.
Why are you nervous?
I was totally nervous. Well, because I thought you were going to be mad at me that we had to reschedule so many times.
No, I was just amazed that it happened at all.
Okay.
And that, I get, like, it's like, I just get nervous. I don't know, you're a big actress.
I was nervous. Everybody told me that, that you were gonna like get deep, and I was probably gonna leave being like, why did I say that thing about my grandmother or whatever?
What happened with your grandmother?
No, nothing. See, you see.
Lovely woman, great actress. Thrilled that she came by. Okay, folks. Once again, I want to mention that Just Coffee fundraiser. If you order the WTF blend in the month of September, our cut of that will go to the fundraiser. So go take your selfies for Seed's picture and make a donation if you can. It will really help these coffee growers in South America get back on their feet. And God knows we need the bean. We need the juice. Go to WTFpod.com for all your WTF.